Well, hello. ModPo has come to New York again. Again, we've done it a few times over the years, and we are privileged, so blessed, so happy to be at the Renee and Chaim Gross Foundation here. And we have the leadership of the Gross Foundation with us. Sasha Davis is the executive director, and Brittany Cassandra is the director of collection. And thank you both for, we really want anybody watching this video to know about the Gross Foundation. So Sasha, you want to start and tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, well, welcome Al, welcome ModPo team. We're so happy that you're here. We preserve and interpret the historic home, studio, and art collections of Renee and Chaim Gross. So Chaim Gross was a 20th century sculptor. He made a lot of carvings in wood. He was also an incredible collector of his friends' work. And we are a private operating foundation. We have tours Wednesdays through Saturdays or by appointment. And the best way to find out about tours, book a visit, or learn about more of our educational activities is to go to our website. And that is rcgrossfoundation.org.
Fantastic.
And then this program is being done on the third floor, the Gross's living room, dining room, and kitchen. That's, historically installed with their collection of African arts, pre-Columbian arts, oceanic, decorative, European and American modern arts. So we're surrounded right now with artists like Louise Nevelson, Jacob Lawrence, Marston Hartley, Willem de Kooning, and Raphael Sawyer. And so we hope you visit us.
Sasha, what's your favorite piece in the collection? Not Chaim's sculptures, but anything else?
Yeah, that's a really hard question. But on the wall to your right, there's a really great painting by Louise Nevelson, who Brittany just mentioned. It's called The Queen. It was painted in 1934. And Nevelson is not known for her paintings. She's known for her sculpture. So this is a very early painting she did, gave to Chaim as a token of friendship. She was actually a student of his. And she had never done sculpture until she studied with him.
All right, Brittany, what's your favorite piece?
That's a tough one. But I do love the little, well, not so little, but there's a portrait of Chaim Gross carving by Milton Avery from 1944. That there's a similar version in the Smithsonian American Art Museum, but it really just shows the relationship between the artists during this point in time. And it's fun because it's kind of like etched in there with the paintbrush, so like Avery was carving, Chaim is carving too in it. So.
Yeah. That's great. Very meta. Thank you both. I just want to also shout out to Mimi Gross, who is a friend of poets and very much in the circle, good dear friend of Susan B. and Charles Bernstein, and really the reason we have this institutional relationship.
And a fabulous painter, of course.
And a great painter, and just and as such a friend of poets. So there's such a great community here. Thank you both for having us here. And we're joined by Jennifer Firestone. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
How are you?
Great
It's
to be
so great
here.
so we've got a poem by John Godfrey. It's called Such Angels. And the four of us are going to talk about it. There is no, as of this recording, there's no John Godfrey in ModPo. Lainey, where does John Godfrey fit in it's pretty obvious, I think, but
New York.
New York School, right? There's a relationship with Ted Berrigan, with Frank O'Hara, with jazz and blues. So I guess we're saying in advance that it's a New Yorky, schooly kind of conversation, but we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to read the poem. There is a recording at Penn Sound, which of course we will link to the presentation of these materials in the course in ModPo Plus. The poem Such Angels, what a great choice. It was your choice, Lainey?
Yes.
What an amazing choice. You can find it in the book Tiny Gold Dress on page 24. And you have it. Okay, look, hold that up so we can get a camera on it.
I
Hold it
contacted-
still, Jennifer.
Oh, sorry. Kim Lyons, who published this, gave me the copy.
And her press,
Lunar Chandelier Press.
Yeah.
So that's a book of 2012, page 24. You can find Such Angels. And I am going to attempt to read the poem, and then we'll talk about it. First, Jennifer, it'll be just thoughts, themes, like a lightning round of just tossing an idea, and then we'll decide where to go from there. Such angels. Headland behind me, all the suspicions that drain heaven has no taste, snow, but aftertaste of lanolin protects such angels as fly, look for something orange instead see a light, there will be smoke. By far the most radiant heap of grime, narrowed byways, each step succeeded by splatter, seems more and more often that darkness descends. Without wind, I prefer it. Sidewalks are, I know, very large rooms. To circle the room, I need a partner. Turns out the accent is French. I take her hand in mine. She begins to dance. Time is ripe. Put that down for a second. Around us, lights on. The inside or the outside. What about our clothing? Our scarves begin an intimacy. An hour sooner or later, everything that happens, the ones we abandoned. Okay, just wow. Jennifer, a topic, a theme that you'll want us to get to, or an issue?
Death.
Death. Great. Lainey.
Angels.
Angels. Wow, this is cool. Sophia?
Well, I was going to say inverted syntax.
Inverted syntax?
Yeah.
Okay, can I put out 2? They're so different. That'll be 5. We won't be able to remember all this, but okay. First, the phrase-basedness of it, the non-linearity of lines. I don't mean non-linearity, but the non-enjambment of the ideas. It's like Ashbury plus, I think better than Ashbury, if I can put that way. That's a weird thing.
You
to
just
say.
did?
Yeah. Right. And this, my second thing is totally unrelated, which is, New York School, the
city.
cityness or the urbanness of it. Okay. All right. Jennifer, you're our special guest. There were 5 ideas tossed out. Death, angels, inverted syntax, the non-linearity of phrase-based writing, and cities. We'll cover at least 3 of those, but
I
pick one
think
you
we
want to
should start with cities, because we started with kind
Okay.
of affiliating him
Yeah.
with the New York School.
Okay, so let's collect,
Yeah.
let's enumerate city references or nods. Somebody start.
I mean, by far the most radiant heap of grime.
Love that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna come back to that. Anybody else?
Sidewalks are, I know, very large rooms.
Yeah. I read that badly because it could be sidewalks are, I know, very large rooms. It could, I kept thinking sidewalks are all I know, you know. But anyway, okay, next, another one.
Everything that happens.
Very O'Hara-ish, very I do this, I do that, we all do this, we all do that, all at once, simultaneity. More?
Around us, lights on the inside or the outside.
That's really good. Okay. How about like overheard in New York? You know that meme, MEMEE, the meme thing, the Instagrammy thing of what we overhear. Turns out the accent is French. I take her hand in mine. Okay. Are there any others? There are, of course. But how about the tending against city would be the word headland behind me. What is a headland?
Isn't it like a cliff that sticks out into this, like kind of a,
A prominent point,
Yeah.
usually steep,
yeah.
usually not associated with, certainly not with New York,
No.
although the Palisades, they're headlands.
Yeah, true.
Where does, okay, so let's get back to cities, but how do we start with headlands, but it's such a city poem?
I feel like I hear in Headland, headlamps and headboards and leaving a main land, like just a departure. So it could be
Okay,
a
so it's
metaphorical
metaphor.
Yeah.
and a city as well, image.
And it's also behind the speaker, headland behind me, so you're venturing further into something instead of, you're like straying away from the lack of population of a cliff.
So let's go back to the more direct references to cities. I think we all love by far the most radiant heap of grime. I mean, that's so mystical in the O'Hara sense. I don't think of O'Hara as a mystic, but I mean mystical in the sense of like, the grime is so radiant today at 4 o'clock on a, right? Or James Schuyler or something. Do you want to say more about that, Jennifer?
Well, I mean, I think what I pick up, I mean, first of all, yeah, it feels kind of oxymoronic to have this like radiant heap of grime, very much New York City. But also it picks up with some of the imagery in the previous stanza where there's like looking for something orange. There's like a search for something bright and light, excuse me. And the radiance is actually found in the heap of grime. So there just seems something very, someone who is really attached to the city and finds
Right.
beauty in
Right.
that, you know.
It's small t transcendental,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Okay.
Right.
Lainey, I know you have things to say about, like, sidewalks are large rooms.
Well,
So right
that's-
up your
I think
alley, isn't it?
that's one of my favorite moments of the poem, and I think it's also related to this image of the radiant heap of grime, and I'm imagining the city at dusk or night, and the headlights are reflecting off of the oil in the street, and so you see something, and what did I really see? You know, was that grime? Was that something mystical, almost like an apparition or
Yeah.
a elusive trick
Yeah.
of sleight of hand, sleight of seeing?
Yeah. I mean, we have to get to the small R romantic, I take her hand in mine-ness of this poem, which comes from the urbanness, a personal reflection. I mean, I've been circling around New York City and living on and off in New York City, you know, more or less all my life, and my family's all New York, all Brooklyn. There's something automatically hand in hand, but also libidinal, further than hand in hand, about being in New York. I mean, I think the New York poets got this perfectly, but so many others did as well. And I can remember in the what might be called courtship period of my relationship with Jane, my wife, having we could have used these words exactly, that there was sidewalks. To circle the room, I need a partner. It all feels New Yorky to me. Around us, lights on the inside or the outside. That is just, I don't even know how to explain how New York that is. So to prevent me from embarrassing myself further, would anybody like to add something about that romanticism?
I love this line, sidewalks are, I know, very large rooms, because it makes me consider like how people confer in public and how conversations on the street are like inherently not private, but they
Right.
also contain a bunch
Right.
of, like walking with someone on the street,
Right.
you're supposedly going to the same location. Like there is something private about that conversation. It's just the ability to be overheard.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
it transforms into something that is like intimate in a bodily way by taking someone's hand. And it's like you've
Yes.
arrived at the destination and now you can be together like in privacy.
Yes, I need a partner. It's you commented on the way in which in the city you are, to take a line from early Ashbery, arranging by chance to meet. Except for Ashbery in that poem, arranging by chance to meet as far this morning from the world as agreeing with it. Ashbery's imagining leaving the city, that would be Boston or Cambridge, but in this case, arranging by chance to meet as close to the inside of a city as agreeing with it. It just feels so inside.
It's kind of the opposite of this sense of there's not a lot of private space in New York for most people. It certainly was the case when I lived in New York. But if you think of the street as a very large room, it's this different perspective taking where suddenly you have voluminous, grand scale space and things happen, conversations happen on the street.
Before we ask Jennifer to turn to another one of the topics that we proposed, let's just think about the end of the poem as just plain old sweet and sentimental. I'm going to read it with that idea, and then we can comment on it, because the end, it seems like a downer note, the ones we abandoned, but it just feels otherwise so intimate. So I'll read the last two stanzas, and then anybody can comment. Time is ripe. Put that down for a second. Around us lights on the inside are the outside. What about our clothing? Our scarves begin in intimacy. An hour sooner or later, everything that happens, the ones we abandon.
I mean, this moves me to the next topic, which is death. I mean, that's,
Let's do
yeah, I don't hear so much as, sentimentality here. I really hear like someone very conscious of time. There's like three references: time, second, hour. And even though there's like this filmic kind of romantic beauty in here with like the scarves, I imagine like one's own scarf or an entanglement with two scarves having this intimacy, which brings us back to this.
Cliche.
It's almost cliche, but it also brings us back to that sidewalk, because when you're in a sidewalk, you actually, particularly in New York City, because you can meet like thousands of people on a sidewalk, you do have these physical entanglements. There is a dance actually that happens with people. But there's something that like slows down here an hour sooner or later. I really think of it as like one's mortality. Like it's all gonna happen. We're all gonna die. Everything that happens, the ones we abandon because we're gone. You know, so I kind of read it as a real existential.
It's also, sooner or later, is also a Ashberean throw-off phrase, which gets, you know, half of Ashbery's poems have something like that in it, which is to say, you know, something's going to come of it, something, but it also has that very specific sense of time passing. Lainey, death.
Wow. I read it in multiple ways, like the literal death or the death of a relationship, which may or may not be caused by mortality of somebody, but just the end of a relationship, the end of a passage of time, and so on. But it can also be a death of an illusion. Like I'm in this imagination space where I'm seeing jewels, where there's grime and so on, and as soon as it appears, it also disappears. In other words, the sense
sooner or later.
and the sense of seeing the city in this magical light can come on like a luminous bright light, and it can disappear just as quickly. And so the wind that animated a scarf that we thought was some divinity or some lost love stops blowing, and then the cloth just falls, and we're left with, oh, okay, no, maybe it was not there, or it's not there any longer. So also the death of perceptions, memories.
Also, so New York School in strategy, poetic strategy, the moment of ecstasy of 100% integratedness, everything that happens. I mean, even in a stretch, you know, the day Lady died. Maybe that really works well here. The feeling of absolute collaboration with the cityscape that turns into collaboration with one's friends in the 5 spot, which turns out to be a moment of absolute, incredible talent integrated in front of you, but now it's gone, sooner or later. It's very sad, I think.
Yeah.
And beautiful
And
Yeah.
beautiful,
at the
Sophia.
same time.
What do you want to say?
I feel
about
like
that?
if we're tracking, if we can, like we're on the sidewalk and now we're in a room. I need a partner. I found a partner. We don't have that much time, but now we have to put on our scarves because we're leaving. So like if we track the action, it's like this conjoining that's desired, and then like the urgency of living requires you to leave that space eventually. So now you're out in the cold again. But I do see something that could be hopeful in that, because like to begin an intimacy with someone new, you have to abandon someone
Yeah.
before, presumably. So it could be like the start instead of the end.
How do you feel about that?
Mushy.
More. Say more. Say more. Say more.
It just feels it feels like reassuring, perhaps. Like everything is such a difficult concept to think about, and it's so stressful and overwhelming. But also, everything will happen anyway, and like yeah, and we can look forward to.
So many, I'm riffing here, so many of the poems we admire, not all of them, maybe not even half of them, do this for us. They somehow recollect that ecstatic moment of integratedness, no matter where the setting, and then it's fleeting, because poems record, even words in a Wordsworthian sense, they record this ecstatic moment, and then they also realize it's a flash.
Yeah.
Is this why you're a poet? I mean, your poems
What a
do this.
question.
Your poems do this. I've recently read your poems. They do this.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's all you're going to say? Thank
Yeah.
you. Let's go to angels. Lainey, that was your choice. Angels. Such angels.
Well, yeah, I want to talk about the title because it's such a brilliant title. Because if this were just called Angels,
Right.
it wouldn't be nearly the same poem, because such angels can mean so many things. If you read it with attitude like "Ugh, such angels, meaning not
Like
angels
some,
at all,
Some trees.
or like such angels, these particular angels, the one I see in the trick of light,
For example, angels.
right, or such angels as other people believe exist, but I do not exist. So it
Oh,
leaves
a
open all the
hypothetical,
ways.
suppo-
Hypothetical
supposing
angels.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, or certain categories of angels.
Okay.
They're not all the same. Angels.
Why are you interested in angels?
Oh, because what is the life without angels?
Say more, please.
I mean, I think I'm interested in angels in the same way that I'm interested in sidewalks are. I know very large rooms, because many things are true, and if we focus on the fact that we live in a studio and every time you turn on the light the cockroaches come and you can barely make the rent, and that's true, that's how it was for me living in New York. Or I could focus on the sidewalk is a very ample room where I walk out the door and I meet all my friends. When I just take a step or two, it makes being here an adventure, and it creates a mystical company, just as the poem can create a mystical company, which is I prefer.
So the city itself, via being angelic in the Allen Ginsberg sense, the city itself is metapoetic. The city itself, yeah?
It contains all the angels, the ones we don't believe in, the ones who are problematic and, vengeful, the ones that we don't see because we're too busy looking at our phones.
Yes.
Everything. Our better angels, our worse angels.
Yes. And among the angels are the angels of death, too,
Yes.
to use a
Yeah.
phrase that's in and around. Jennifer, what do you think about angels?
Well, I guess I like your idea of it, and I want to hold on to that, but I'm not sure. I feel like the speaker is maybe suspicious a little of mysticism and the city as being angelic, and all the suspicions that drain heaven really makes me think that this speaker is considering like, well, if you have this cynicism, you can't really like hold up the construct of like
I
a
agree
heaven.
with that. I think it's
Yeah.
all in
It's
there.
all, it's,
the
you know,
light and the dark.
I mean,
it's
there's the
all-
light and the dark, right?
Yeah.
But even like that first stanza, to me, like there's situation after situation where there's like this sense of maybe there'll be something transformative, but it's actually not. Like maybe the snow will have some taste, and actually the taste is like the emollient possibly on someone's hands, the lanolin that is protecting one from the cold, and it doesn't have a taste. Maybe there's something orange, but it looks like it possibly is just possibly a cigarette instead of see a light. There will be smoke. So it seems like there might be the wishfulness for it,
Yeah.
but it's more like this is what I'm seeing and what's here. So to me, it's very like city-based realist in that way. At least in the beginning, in the first stanza.
I want to try to paraphrase or translate what you said and
Yes.
bring it back to the meta-poetic or the
Yes.
meta-art.
Yes.
All the great New York School poets do this. They do that dance that you described, where they say, well, look, if I step through the grime, through the byways, on the sidewalks, if I am a city person, City of Corners, which is the title of one of his books, The City Keeps, the title of his selected poems. Right? If I am doing this, I do that, and I am, or like Ted Berrigan's relationship to the city, everything's always, we're always walking around, and things are kind of dirty, Lower East. It may be that when each step succeeds by splatter, it is simply the splatter of the grimy puddles after a rain. But it may also be the splatter of the kind of art that we like at a certain era, particularly thinking about abstract expressionism or Jackson Pollock or whatever it is, that splatter. Every step in a city puddle turns into a piece of artwork. Both of those things are true.
Yes.
Right? It's
Yeah.
both the angelic quality that allows us to see the transcendentalism, small t, of the situation here, but also it's finally just grime and it's finally just splatter, and if we don't like that, we're fucked, because because we live in it. How does that feel to you as a kind of
Yeah, I would go further to say that the pedagogical way that this works is that it's in, as Jennifer said, the longing for. There's this essential loneliness, and the imagination space of the poem shows the poet creating something out of potentially nothing, which is the poem, which is what we have.
Oh my gosh, Lainey. I'm going to ask you to say that point again somehow, because it's so good. I mean, you won't use the same words, but
I'll try.
okay, this is hard.
The meta pedagogical way this poem is teaching us to read it and the city is to connect to the speaker of the poem, who is, sorry, does not have a dance partner, is lonely, is walking, it's grimy, it's winter. If only I had an accompaniment here. Let me imagine that accompaniment here. And that brief imagining of and conjuring the dance with the scarves and the grime and the light
And
is...
metapedagogical in the sense that we might be the only accompaniment ultimately, readers.
Right.
Or
and-
when Ginsberg says, "Are you my angel?"
Yeah.
You know, he really is looking for companionship.
And then the
or
poem
Whitman.
does that for us.
Yes.
So when I'm walking down the street in winter and I'm feeling that way, and I recall
Yeah.
that the sidewalk is this luminous room,
Yes.
then I'm given that.
I really appreciate both times that you made the point. But the second in particular, because it addresses the question of loneliness and sociality, which are both crucial to life in the city. So to combine my other theme, my first theme was, I can't even remember, city. But my other theme and Sophia's, inverted syntax and phrasal disconnection, the piling up in the Ashbery at his best, e.g., the Berrigan too, piling up a non-linear, non-enjammed phrases. So do you want to do the inverted syntax first?
I just had a thought about what we were just speaking about, this like sense of longing. And I also think that the line, each step succeeded by splatter, is a meta moment that is also kind of referential to how the poem operates, which I guess is an
It's
answer to your phrase baseness,
Yeah.
because each line of the poem is succeeded by like a splash of a new thought, and it is difficult to track. But
Excellent.
I read like Robert Creeley's Goddamn Darkness and the darkness that descends. But without wind, I prefer it, or without wind, I prefer it as the next line. And I feel like to connect it to this sense of longing, if I'm thinking about the Creeley poem and the goddamn darkness, and
He
let's
doesn't
just
actually
buy,
say goddamn
yeah,
darkness,
and the like, let's
the
buy a big
darkness
car.
surrounds us.
Yeah, it makes me think like it would be easy to just leave the city, but without wind, that means I don't need a scarf and I don't need to leave the place where I've connected with someone. So that's what I read there.
I like that.
And
I
it's
know
not-
an
it's
angel.
not easy to leave the city also.
No.
When you're here.
Yeah.
And also just one more thing to note in that in stanza that we were kind of focusing on, the narrowed byways, I think, could be from the snow, which actually shrinks the sidewalk, so it creates more intimacy because you're kind of compressed, there's less room to navigate them. So you're feeling both like this lonely, but also you're this consolidation of all these people at the same time. So there's that detail too.
Let us, the four of us, compile a list of moments in the poem where there's discontinuity or disjunction across the lines, where it just doesn't, quote unquote, make sense, all right? And the reason I think it's good for us to do that in a video recorded conversation where we're stipulating that that's the case is that some readers will read this and say, what are they actually talking about? How does this actually work? So I'll do one. I mean, just randomly pick. Look for someone orange, instead see a light. There's a way to read that so that it makes regular grammatical sense. There's also a way of reading it where it doesn't follow one after another. All right, who wants to do one?
I've got one.
Yeah.
I want to connect it to what Jennifer just said about the sidewalk being smaller and the people being pushed together, connecting to these phrases, fragments bumping against each other are like the people on the sidewalk who are mushed together. They have nothing in
Right,
common.
right,
It's rush hour, and now, which wasn't true when this poem was written, everybody's on their phone, so they're 10
Right,
times more
right.
likely to just
Put
walk.
that down for a second.
Oh yeah, right. But that
right,
wasn't
right.
Yeah,
that
no, I
wasn't
know,
the
that
case.
wasn't a phone.
But
That
that's where I
a-
was going to go, Al. Time is right. Put that down for a second. Before phones, what
Right.
what is that's it seems like it's an
It
interruption.
could be absolutely anything that takes you away from the city, you know. Okay, another one that doesn't work, doesn't make sense.
I mean, this one I struggle with, so I love to hear from you all about this. But aftertaste of lanolin protects such angels as fly.
Yeah. Right,
I'm just, I hear
What the
fly.
heck?
Yeah, what the heck?
right. All the suspicions that drain heaven has no taste. So the verb agreement is broken. So we don't know. I mean, suspicions has no taste would be suspicions have no taste, whatever it would be to say. But heaven, okay, heaven has no taste. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Headland is behind me, has no taste. You just don't know what to do with it.
I think that might be also a new line, has no taste,
Right.
snow.
Yeah.
Right, but aftertaste of lanolin.
Right.
Yeah.
Sophia, you got one?
The inside or the outside. What about our clothing?
What
Yeah.
about?
You should tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those of us who spend a lot of time with poetry like this don't even think about this. We will read,
Yeah.
we're not looking for thought enjambment, let alone reading sentences that are versified enjambment. We don't care about that, right? It's not throwing us. This is not that hard a poem, even though it's a hard poem. Inverted syntax and then the phrase-ishness. Are the New York School poets as phrase-focused as this? Do they engage in his? I think that is much more a language poetry thing.
Barbara Guest.
Barbara Guest does. Yes. And in ModPo, the poem 20
Is
is a
very
champion of that.
yeah.
Okay. All right, let's go around and get final thoughts on anything that you wanted to say about this poem, what we haven't had a chance to yet. So I just sprung that on you. So, Jennifer, you teach all the time where you don't quite know what you're going to say. So give us a final thought. You're about to go teach, I think, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean,
What are you teaching today?
I am teaching, and I also direct a pedagogy program, so I'm teaching about teaching.
You're teaching about
Yeah,
teaching.
so if you have any ideas.
We have a few ideas. We're not going to get into it.
Yeah. I mean, final thoughts, I think I'm just thinking of things I read from Godfrey himself, where he says things like, I make movies with my mind, which there's like a really filmic, romantic quality with the dancing that I see. He also just like is not, as you were just saying, Al, he's like not interested in like this cohesive narrative. This is like disparate little, there's some sequential maybe through lines here, but I really appreciate that it's allowed to just stay with, like New York City, these little pivots of attention that happen, and you can sew them up and make something from it and have it be transformative, or they're just moments. And that's what I love about this poem, is that it just brings my attention so intensely into these like little moments.
Thank you.
That's so
Lainey.
beautiful. I love this poem for so many reasons, and one of the reasons is that I read it as kind of a statement or an argument for ways of seeing that are attempting to bring us into conversation and into connection, even if it means squinting at broken glass in the gutter to see something bright for a moment, to just remember where we are.
Wow. You're cooking with gas, as you say.
It's such a good poem.
Yeah.
It really is. Sophia?
I think what I appreciate about this poem, well, I appreciate many things, but it makes me like want to be a New Yorker. I've never lived here, but I feel like there's something really moving about the continuity of the light in the first stanza, the look for something orange, instead see a light. And then in the second to last stanza, there's around us, lights on the inside or the outside. So we've left this place where like we're looking at something, and now the lights that we sought are like they're in us. And it makes me feel like that, like if you're a true diehard New Yorker, the city is within you and there's a community in that. And I think that's really inviting in a way that I think can feel exclusionary in other contexts.
Since I'm the host, I'm going to have two final thoughts. I mean, I'm taking the prerogative of the host. The first one is to think about headlands. I think Lainey's right in suggesting that we might take that word, which seems out of place here in terms of geography, and just play with it, right? But I want to take it seriously as a reference to a headland, or headland. And I want to read a definition that I found online in an encyclopedia of a headland. Because I've been in Scotland and Ireland, where you get a lot of headlands. But I also want to, as I read it, I want us to think about the first stanza, which suggests that this is a speaker that the headlands are behind him, and now he's kind of coming into the city. Remember the letters, the early letters of the poet Wallace Stevens. He was in New York, and he was first studying to be a lawyer, and then he got his first job with an insurance company in New York City. He lived downtown, and he was part of the bohemian downtown set. But he also, every Sunday, just needed to get out, and he would go on these long, long walks on the Palisades. And he would often, in the letters, talk about what it was like with the headlands behind him, the Palisades, walking back into the city that he was beginning to love as a poet, as an avant-gardist. So I'm going to read the first stanza, and then I'm going to read the definition of the headland. And I think there's something really precise going on with what happens when that geological formation is behind you and you go into the city where everything happens in a social and aesthetic sense. So here's the stanza. I'm going to leave the last line off, there will be smoke, because I think that continues on to a next thought. Headland behind me, all the suspicions that drain heaven has no taste. Snow, but aftertaste of lanolin protects such angels as fly. Look for something orange instead. See a light. A headland is a high, prominent point of land with steep cliffs that projects out into the sea or an ocean, in this case, the river Hudson, surrounded by water on three sides. Formed from hard, resistant rock, like limestone or granite, headlands stand out because they erode much slower than the softer, less resistant rock on either side, which is worn away to form bays. This process occurs along discordant coastlines. love the use of discordant there, where different rock types are exposed at a right angle to the shore. I think this is a really precise, although incidental, view of New York coming with the headlands behind you, coming back into the city after a tramp, as Stevens used to call them, and thinking, looking for something orange, but instead seeing a light, and that is the mystical, I think, mystical aspect of the light, looking for something orange, which would be a sunset from the prominence of differently eroding rock formations that form the edge of this great city, at least Manhattan, and then coming back and looking for something orange, which was what you would expect to be the dynamism of the rock in relation to the sunset at the end of the day of walking, but then seeing a light, as in everything that happens. A love that you accidentally see on the crowded sidewalks or whatever, needing a partner, that light is momentary, and it makes grime, even grime, radiant. That is the thing that you must get when you go from nature into the city. I think he's really very precise about the use of the word headland as the end of a walk that brings you back to this place that you love and that everybody likes to say is grimy, but you say is radiant. Thank you, guys. This was really fun. Lainey Brown, a great choice of a poem. John Godfrey, the book is, I think this is in the selected poems the city keeps, but it's in a book
Originally.
called Tiny Gold Dress.
Yeah.
There it is. Sophia DeRose, thank you. Jennifer Firestone, I hope that you will draw something from this conversation that will help you teach teachers.
I mean, I feel like I just want to take them on a walk right now, but I don't know if that'll be as
Let's.
productive, but yeah,
Let's.
I've done it before, yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you.
And thanks again to our colleagues at the Gross Foundation who are off camera, but there they are. Thank you. You guys are the best.